Okay.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Jaya?
Jaya.
Jaya?
Yes.
So it's not Jaya, it's Jaya.
Jaya, yeah. It's yeah, that's how my mom named me.
Yeah, Jaya, Jaya. I mean, they used to call me Jay all the time, so that's easy to remember Jaya.
Yes. Yeah, my nickname with my family is Jay as well.
We got the same nickname. We got the same.
That's
Awesome,
awesome. Nice
awesome,
to
awesome.
nice to meet you on here.
Yeah, great to finally connect on here. We've been connecting with some friends of yours, and we
Yeah.
connected with brother Jake as well as brother Rue and sister Nova as well. We connected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd love to just hear about your journey because, you know, just seeing all the way on that side, I mean, you're all the way across the world, but you're affecting people, on this planet in beautiful ways because what you've done for yourself, what you've done for your life, what you've done for your health, I feel is tremendous, and I'd love to get into it. So, if,
Thank
you know, Jaya, if nobody knew anything about you, and they were just wondering, who you are, how would you describe yourself?
Um, that's a good question. Thank you. How would I describe myself? I I love people. I love caring for people. I'm passionate about health and healing. I have been for a long time, since I was very young, because I was a very sick child. So as I grew up, I became more health conscious.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I love learning new things. I have a beautiful family of five. So I have three children and I have two stepchildren as well.
Wow.
Um, and I used to be a pediatric nurse
Okay.
for 15 years. So I was in the medical surgical realm for a while. And then I've also been studied a little bit of iridology and sclerology
Mhm.
and a little bit of regenerative, like with detoxification, with just reading Dr. Morse's books and learning from him,
Yeah.
and also aromatouch massage. So I've kind of just dipped into a few little things over the years because I just love
Wow.
learning and sharing that with people. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're the same, when it comes to just the love of learning, the
Mm,
love of learning, just fascinated by learning new things, expanding in new ways, and
mm,
really just elevating my mind to learn awesome methods and modalities, techniques, tricks, but also just raising my consciousness, raising my state of awareness. And I feel like you've definitely done that.
mm.
So if you could take us back, if you recall going back to when Jaya was, afflicted with all sorts of health conditions, can you talk about those health problems, those symptoms that you dealt with at a young age?
Mm. Yeah, sure. So when I was a few months old, I had probably what they call now, which is a respiratory, like a asthma attack, basically. So I had restricted airways, so narrow airways, and I couldn't breathe, and so I was on a breathing machine, and on steroids as well to open up my airways. So I I was in hospital for a long time, in and out as well, with recurrent like tonsillitis as I got older, and I just remember even just as a toddler or young girl, just I remember sitting in the kitchen with the mask and a breathing machine just to help me to breathe. So I used to be on a lot of medication as well, like antibiotics, because I was always sick with a chest infection or just any kind of respiratory illness. Like I say catch, a lot of the respiratory symptoms. Like we just in hospital, they're just under a big umbrella. They're just the names they would use would be like RSV, which is what a lot of babies get, recurrent ear infections, tonsillitis, things like that. And so I was very sickly, and I was very, I guess I would say, not a happy little child. Like I was at times, but obviously when you're a sick kid, you're not happy. So I just remember being in hospital, and when I was 6, I think I remember being given these tablets to swallow. They must have been that big, and I remember vomiting it back up. Um, and they were nuns back then, so they weren't. They wore the hats and everything, and so they were very strict. And back then, there were no parents allowed to stay with you. So I remember being in this ward. It was very, very dark. The lights would be off, and I think I was the only child in that ward, and it was quite scary experience.
Wow.
So yeah, I just have little memories of being sick, and I think that, I guess, was the yeah, it kind of led into eczema. I had like skin problems, so I'd get eczema on my foot, like just here on my arm, like the inside here, under my armpits, behind my legs.
Yeah.
And yeah, and my dad, being old school, he didn't know any better. So, and he had suffered it with it when he was a child too. So he would get lemon,
Mm.
and he would put lemon on it to stop me scratching,
Oh,
because so it would like it would stop me from
right.
scratching, but it would hurt like hell. So so that was that was my a little bit of a snippet there, but it was, I mean, it was painful, but I look back now, and I don't know, I guess I'm stronger for it in many ways.
It definitely seems so. I commend you just for being able to have gratitude, for what feels like very traumatic what you just walked us through. You said at age 6 as well. So this began at what age and till what age? Like, what was the period of time you'd say?
I would say probably from maybe 3 months old till until I was well into, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years old.
Wow. So all the way to your teens. So
Yeah,
from 3 months old all the way to your teenage years, you were dealing with all of these health conditions. And
yeah. And get herpes as well, like I'd get cold sores. And when I was 3, I had a mouth, like my whole mouth was full of it. Because I played in some dirt with lime, all sorts of things, and I broke out in this like huge herpes type thing, and so I lost a lot of weight, and then it was just a roller coaster of things that I would get over the years. So,
oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
I'm
it was
glad
tough.
you're still here. Jeez, I'm glad
Yeah,
you're still here, Jaya. Going through all of that and to just come out on the other side and to now turn around and be helping people heal, it's just amazing. Like, because when you're talking about this, you said that at one point there were steroids that were helping you breathe. Did you say that they helped you? Can you describe that?
yeah. It's called prednisone. So prednisone, it opens the airway up very quickly, especially in an emergency situation. And if a child is struggling to breathe, that's usually what they'll give, is some type of steroid, a quick acting one, and then over a long period of time, or I guess a few days, then you'd have another steroid to just keep the airway open until the inflammation settles, and until you're calm enough to be breathing without it, I
Wow.
guess. So, and Ventolin, they call the buffer Ventolin, so that's another, I guess, steroid that they use to keep open the airway, and just to, yeah, it helps to breathe. In emergency situation, it works. Obviously, over a long time period, it's not good. So
Wow. So I can only imagine, Jaya, just off of what you've told us already, like how precious the breath is to you, like
yeah,
how precious every inhale, every exhale just
mm,
seems like it's priceless.
yeah, yep, yeah.
Okay.
It's very, it's important. like breath, I guess, is spirit is your spirit, and it's very, yeah, not, it's not, breathing is not really number one on the list for many people. It, you're probably aware of being a, the breatharian coming from that background. But yeah, a lot of children. I mean, coming from my background in pediatric nursing, a lot of children, the number one, um, I guess, deteriorating child is to do with breath, like respiratory system.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned tonsillitis. What was that like?
Oh, it was painful, but I'm very grateful because my mum, the doctor advised my mum to get my tonsils cut out, and my mum refused. So I'm grateful that she didn't agree with that, because that's generally what happens. If you have inflamed tonsils, then the doctor will say, okay, your child needs to have this cut out. So you get booked in for surgery. And so my mum said no.
Mhm.
And so even though I had recurring tonsillitis, she said no. And I eventually, like, I mean, as I got older
Mhm.
and stronger, and then obviously I became more aware, I never got it again. So yeah.
Wow. She gave you
So
a fighting
I
chance.
don't get asthma. Yeah, I don't get any of those symptoms anymore since I changed my whole lifestyle. So
Right, right.
yeah,
I love that she gave you a fighting chance. Like she was like, "No, not my daughter. You know, you're not touching my daughter. You're not cutting this out. You know,
yeah,
this is essential." And I wish, I, you know, I wish growing up, because I have parents that are in the medical field and they wouldn't be as, steadfast when it came to a diagnosis or something coming from a doctor. And, unfortunately, things like the tonsils, things like my wisdom teeth, things that I wish, I still had certain things today. Like I wonder what my body would look like or what my state of being would look like if I still had, certain things. And just shout out to your mom, just for being a soldier. Yeah.
yeah. She's amazing. She's an amazing woman. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what did they figure out was the determining factors or the causes, because to be dealing with this at 3 months old, what did they find out were even the factors, or what generated these?
I guess back then, I mean, my mum she told me that they just said it was genetic,
Mm.
that my dad was asthmatic, and so they just said it was genetic, and that apparently I almost died because of this. I couldn't breathe very well, and I was in this incubator back
Right.
then, and so I was in this machine, and they couldn't. My parents weren't allowed in the room either, so I was quite distressed as a young baby, because all I wanted was my parents to be held,
Right.
and so they kept me in this like little incubator. And so yeah, they basically told my mom, you have to no dust in the house, like make sure there's no smoking, like just those sorts of things. Because they were trying to figure out what was the main
Right.
cause, but ultimately they didn't really know. It's just like a trial and
Yeah.
error.
So it sounds like they were just guessing, like they didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's usually what happens. They try this, and if that doesn't work, then they'll try something else, and then if that doesn't work, then it's just one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming from a pediatric background, looking back, do you feel like there was anything that they could have done better or that you would have done better?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, at the time, my parents, obviously it was really scary for them, being their first child, and then obviously being in hospital, and not really having any education or awareness around health and what to do. And I guess, in my opinion, like if I could, if I were to do something, I mean, I've had it, just an example with my daughter, when she had something similar when she was probably 2 months old, and we called, I think it's called well, they call it croup, which is a narrowing of the airway,
Mm.
and it's another, I guess, disease or whatever they call under that umbrella, the respiratory illnesses. And so she was struggling. I could tell just by the sound that it has a specific sound that they make when they're breathing. And it's like a hoarse sound. Like when they're breathing, you can just, it's, yeah, I won't go into detail, but I just knew there was something obviously not right. And so just for what I did for her, because I didn't want to send her to hospital and I didn't want to put her on steroids or anything like that. So I kept it upright and I was doing steam, like I did a steam shower with her,
Mhm.
and I had a little bit of essential oils like eucalyptus, things like that going, not too much. And I actually, probably every couple of hours, I was sucking the snot out of her nostrils, and I would massage her. And
Wow.
so I was using doTERRA essential oils,
Wow.
like not much, but a lot of people advise not to, but I just went with my intuition,
Mhm.
and I was massaging her. So I was up all night, but it was like every hour, 1 to 2 hours, I was constantly on her and just checking her airway, her breathing rate, the sound of her breath, and I was massaging her constantly, clearing her airway, and just wanting to keep her as calm as possible. So
Mhm.
the less stressed they are, because obviously when they start to cough, it turns into a coughing fit, and they can vomit,
Mhm.
and then it becomes quite stressful for the baby.
Mhm.
So just keep them as calm as you can, and obviously the environment. I had essential oils going in the room. It was like I made sure I was on the phone to some of my nursing friends as well, just checking in to make sure that I was on track,
Right.
because I was monitoring her vital signs, like counting her heart rate, counting her breath rate, and I was checking her temperature. And because when the temperature goes up, then their heart rate goes up, their rest rate goes up. So
Okay.
everything goes up, and it looks really bad. Like it does look really bad, and it's quite scary.
Mhm.
But because I guess I had the background and the experience, I knew what I was looking
Yeah.
for. And yeah, so I was back, and the next morning it was gone. Like she was, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah,
I
and
mean, you healed
yeah,
your daughter. And
yeah.
what's her
So
name?
her name is Naya, Naia.
Naya.
Naya.
Oh my gosh. Jaya, you're a medicine woman. You are a medicine woman. Like seriously, you are a shaman. You are a medicine woman. You're like a priestess. You're one of them, from back then. I would not be surprised if, in your lineage or in a past life or something, one of your ancestors, you said it
Yeah,
was
maybe,
I wouldn't be surprised.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was very determined. Like I've always been like that. Like I always have been determined, like there's always another way.
Hmm.
Like I've always believed that, and I never take one answer. Like I'm always questioning, and I'm like, no, I want to try. I want to give it a good go. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give it a good go, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like keep going, keep going. And all it was is just me being
Hmm.
persistent, consistent as well, not giving up, and just being that faith in myself, and like, okay, just keep going. Like I got to keep going because I know she's getting better, and I know it's like, yeah. And I think, yeah, like for me, I think I've taken my daughter, my other eldest daughter, to hospital once, and the other, yeah, maybe once or twice they've been to
Okay.
hospital. Um, but yeah, my youngest, I've never, like, he's only 2, so he's different altogether to the first 2.
Yes. I love
Yeah,
hearing this, Jaya. Like you never gave up,
yeah,
Like of course you never gave up. I mean, she came from you. She came through you. She's a soul that came through your body,
yeah.
Like of course you're going to protect her. Of course you're going to do everything within your power. And
Mm.
just wow. Oh my gosh. So with Naya, first of all, what did it do for you when you got her to that state of health, that state of balance and equilibrium after that, frightening case, what did it do for you? And then what has it done for her, to know that her mother has done this?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think too much of it. Like it was just, just for me, I guess like you asking that question, I guess it's just like wow, like I can like having standing in my
Mhm.
truth and standing and having faith and believing in myself,
Mhm.
I think is obviously the what got me through, and then and the resilience, I guess, because I was raised, I guess, quite strong
Yes.
in my yeah, because with my dad being the way he was, and they were very hard workers, my parents. So it was that mentality of never giving up, working hard
Never.
to get somewhere. So it would never really came over me to think anything of it. It was just like, oh yeah, I did that. Okay, keep going.
Right.
Like I just carried on. Yeah.
Yeah. And has she told you, how she's felt over the years since that time, like for what you did?
Yeah, I mean, she's very close to me. Like she is very, yeah, she's always been quite close,
Mhm.
and just yeah, she's 10 years old now, so she still loves mummy cuddles. She still yeah, like wants me to cuddle her before bed and lie with her, and like she's still very affectionate and yeah, loving and caring. She's a very kind girl, so
Wow.
it yeah, we do have that connection.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I don't yet have any kids, any children of my own, but oh man, you're giving me some lessons right now, Jaya. You're giving me some lessons right now. Like,
Anytime I can help.
you're
When you
definitely,
decide.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm really enjoying this because what did you discover, for yourself, your healing journey coming through with all those respiratory problems? How did you find a way out? Eventually, after you said 13, there was a point where things finally turned around for you. Can you talk about that point and what was your eventual salvation from all the frustration of all the health problems?
Mm. I think I don't know, I started to observe. I just was observing a lot of things, just the way we ate, especially with milk, because I guess back then they did say like maybe dairy isn't good, maybe she needs to cut dairy out, like when I was little.
Mhm.
Um, and so I kind of started, it was interesting because I went from full cream milk to, I remember my grandmother, she would drink, it's over here, it's called trim milk.
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't even know if that still exists because I don't drink it. But all it is just a a skinnier version of the full cream.
Hmm.
And so I went from that to the full cream to skinny milk, I guess, and thinking, oh, maybe that might be a bit better, than drinking full cream milk. And so I kind of just started to just, I guess, cut things out.
Hmm.
Like I just was more aware, started to become more aware and in tune. But it wasn't until maybe when I was 17, 18, I went to New Zealand because my mum comes from New Zealand, and I went to New Zealand and I lived on our family farm over there with my auntie
Hmm.
for a little while. She was very health conscious. Like everything they ate was off their land, and so I learned a few things from her, in terms of just like it being introduced with whole foods, I guess, like because she ate a lot of whole foods and they grew all their vegetables, and I grew up eating whole, like lots of veggies too, but it was just very different living like that. And so I learned a lot about growing food over there and eating off the land, and I learned about flaxseed oil, hemp seeds, all the nuts and seeds, and like I started like learning about that and how that's good for your skin and all that sort of thing. And so I started eating a lot different when I moved there, and then I came back to Australia, and then I think it was around, oh, I got a job in Boost Juice, which is like a smoothie and juice store over
Hmm.
here. And so I started getting into juices and smoothies. And then it wasn't until I studied what's it called? Sorry, yoga. I studied yoga, but that was a bit later in my life. So it's been a big journey, I think, of trialing different things.
Mm-hmm.
And because I went from like on the farm, obviously I was eating meat over there and dairy and all the things, eating everything, and it was amazing. And my health symptoms, like things were, I guess, stable, but it still wasn't where I felt like incredible because I still had a lot of allergies, like I would get asthma every now and then, like, or what do you call hay fever?
Okay.
Triggers, like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's from the pollen or from certain food types, I would still get little triggers, and I'd break out in a lot of acne as well still. So yeah, it's been a long journey of trialing because I even went to the paleo. I tried paleo diet for a little
Mm-hmm.
while. Um, and there's a lovely man called Pete Evans who's Australian, and he wrote a book, and I bought his cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was following his way of living for a while, and it's all homegrown. Like you grow everything, you eat fresh whole foods, but you also eat organic meats and fermented foods and dairy and things like that. So I was trialing that for a while, and then I decided to study yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started studying yoga when I was not until I was about 30, I think. Maybe a bit less,
Okay.
29. And yoga is what introduced me to the vegetarian lifestyle.
How how is that?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it made a lot of sense
You,
to me.
yeah,
It
like
resonated.
yeah,
Yeah.
how did yoga introduce you to vegetarianism?
I mean, well, most of the yogis talk very highly of eating the vegetarian way, and so they just the way it feels in your body, and obviously the food for your chakras, like all those things that are good for the base chakra. That it was very oh, sorry. um, Gosh, that guys.
Hmm.
Can you still see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Um,
got you. So you were saying like for the chakras, for the chakra system, you're talking about so you changed your diet for your energy centers. You wanted different. Can you talk about it? Yeah.
yeah, so I guess it was more of a physical experience at first. So I wanted to feel more supple in my body,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to feel more fluid in my body and more hydration, and I guess and increased flexibility and strength. So Bikram, one of the yogis that um, I read his book, and he eats very, very minimal. So he eats maybe one meal a day, and it's so small, his meal, like and just the way he ate, and a lot of the yogis is very minimal but very nutrient dense. And um and so I mean I didn't eat like that straight away, but it was very intriguing and interesting for me. So I wanted to explore how that felt in my body. And so yeah, through the practice of yoga, my body changed. So I mean, I've always been lean anyway and quite athletic growing up, but I just noticed I became more stronger and more flexible and fluid in my body,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess more in tune. Like for me, I was mentally a lot clearer,
Okay.
not heavy, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I didn't
Less
feel so,
dense.
yeah,
Yeah.
less dense. I was very light, and I loved that feeling because I just had so much more energy, and because I was nursing then as well. I was still nursing, and I had my two girls who were very little, and so I was working nearly full time, and I was practicing and teaching, and I would help on retreats, and I would do massages. Like I was quite busy, so the lifestyle itself gave me a lot of
Mm-hmm.
energy to be able to perform at that level, I guess, and still work night shifts as a nurse, and still be the mum, and still be a yoga teacher, like all these different things, the roles that I took
Mm-hmm.
on. And I was traveling a lot as well. So for me, the yoga gave me, opened me up to a whole way of eating and living, a new way of life.
Wow.
Yeah, because family, we're Pacific Islanders
Mm-hmm.
background, so it's a lot of seafood and obviously tropical fruits as well. But I'm like the odd one out in my family because nobody in my family eat like that.
Same, same. Yeah.
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 So it's just so different to me, it's crazy. But I've always felt like things were going to be different
Mm.
when I was younger, growing up, because I was just always interested in different cultures, and I was always keen to learn new ways of living, and I was always excited. And I remember going to this marketplace, and I remember seeing these people. They must have been, I guess they call hippies back then, and I was only little, like really young, with my parents. And I remember thinking, wow, they look so bright and healthy looking. Like, and I just remember thinking, wow, I want to like have that kind of energy, whatever it was that they exuded. I was very attracted
Right,
to.
right.
And so, yeah, yoga gave me that light, I guess, the lightness, and um, the just a whole new way of living. Really, it really changed my whole life.
Wow. This is beautiful. This is beautiful to hear this, Jaya. This is the first time that I've witnessed someone say that they pretty much changed their diet and their style of living based off of, yoga, that yoga was the inspiration. And it sounds like for bodily optimization, for the optimization of your body, you wanted to be at peak condition, you wanted to be at optimal health. And so you realize that, to be less dense and to be a lot lighter, to
Mm-hmm.
be less rigid and to be less tighter, in your body, that you lightened up your living, you lightened up your diet, you lightened up your consumption, and it took you further. So you said you felt more supple, you felt more flexible, you felt more mobile, you felt more agile. So you were able
Mm-hmm.
to do a lot more by going on a lot less. You were able to have a lot less but do a lot more. It sounds like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I came from eating. So when I was
Mhm.
12, I just remember a lot through my growing up years. I have a younger brother. He's a lot bigger than me now, but
Mhm.
I would eat the same amount of food as my brother and my
Wow.
dad. And meals were like T-bone steaks, which were like big steaks,
Mhm.
mashed potato, big salads, but every day was like a big meat type of dish. And I ate a lot. I remember eating so much.
Mhm.
Well, I was always hungry because we were very active as well. And so the concept of yoga, like eating less, and then obviously the spiritual side of it,
Mhm.
um, connecting back to the one, the self, obviously, and then just it changed my thought process.
Mhm.
It really changed everything because I began fasting,
Mhm.
intermittent fasting. I started with intermittent fasting, and I also just incorporated obviously more meditation,
Yeah.
and then just different daily
Mhm.
practices to ground me, and my two young girls would do it with me as well when they were little. So it just, I don't know, it was very healing.
Mhm.
It was like, yeah, and then I obviously kept moving into different areas. Like I've moved on to raw foods and eventually down the track. But
Yeah.
um, it's yeah, it's been a big journey, that's for sure. I don't,
Sure, for
yeah.
sure. All around, What gave you just the notion to do the big push to fully raw, just fully raw foods? What was it that allowed you to go that extra Wow.
I guess I started, so through yoga, I started learning, I got interested, I guess, I was very intrigued by Dr. Robert
Right.
Morse, and I was introduced through my beautiful friend Nova, who
Ah,
you spoke with. So she bought me his book. Like we all had the book at the same time,
mhm.
like many years ago, and we all started getting into it, reading his
Like the
book, and
Bible.
yeah, yeah, literally, it was like the Bible, and it became my like, yeah, it was my Bible because I would highlight, I would, I just was so, I loved uh, as a nurse too, because I loved pathophysiology
Mhm.
and how things work. Like I love the details of how the body works
Yeah.
and what's good for what and all that sort of thing. So I loved the pathophysiology, and the way that Dr. Morse would describe things, and how the body innately is fruitarian based. And so I really enjoyed studying that. Like for me, that was really fun.
Mhm.
And so from that, I, I found, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, Tyler Tolman and his dad, Don Tolman.
Mhm.
They're from America as well, but Tyler is based in Bali. So back then he still does. He ran a lot of retreats and he also ran a lot of free events. And so I went to one of his free events about how to heal yourself and how to rejuvenate
Mhm.
and things like that. And so that was a stepping stone into iridology, sclerology, and also fasting
Mhm.
as well. And and so I just learnt from him,
Mhm.
and I went to Bali and I did his little course over there. And then I came back wanting to be a health coach and lots of different things because my goal was to leave nursing.
Mhm.
And and then I dived a bit more because he's not fully raw. He doesn't, but he does promote whole foods and lots of raw living foods as
Okay.
well. But he uses his own products for cleaning the bowels and that sort of stuff. So still all wonderful like information and incredible teachers as well. And so from there I decided like I started watching Lou Corona,
Mm.
and I don't know if you've heard of Lou Corona, but he is another beautiful man who I think he has like over 50 years in just speaking about this lifestyle. And he used a lot of he did a 40-day fast in the woods, and he's got an incredible story there where he healed himself as well. But he has his own products of enzymes, and so I started um, using some of his products and making his recipes. So he used a lot of like macadamia,
Mhm.
fresh coconut, and you would make your own dressings. And so his bases are a lot of fresh coconut seeds and specific nuts like macadamia, Brazil
Mhm.
nuts, and things like that. So I I sort of jumped into a world of raw gourmet. It was quite, yeah, it's just incredible, like just the flavors and what you could create. And I have a beautiful friend called Shaya who introduced me. She was the one who actually introduced me to Lou,
Okay.
and that's how I found out more about what he
Mhm.
was about.
Mhm.
And she was an incredible raw food chef,
Mhm.
and I met her on a retreat in New Zealand, and so I got inspired through her as well, and the taste of food and the passion for food and the way it feels in your body. And so from there I guess it was just a journey of trial and error.
Mhm.
So I basically would make lots of different things, try it, feel it in my body, and like dehydrated foods are a little bit more dense.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so I guess it's just been because I've raised my children similar, but they still eat lots of different like other things too. We're not perfect,
That was
but
actually going to be my next question. I was wondering,
yeah.
have you rubbed off on your family, or does everyone just kind of eat whatever they want?
Well, I'm the cook, so I make everything.
Okay, got it, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So how is that dynamic with your family in the kitchen since, you're living very differently? What is that as the household? Yeah.
yeah, it's I guess it's I've raised the girls to be
Mm,
conscious and very like just aware of what they're putting in their bodies and what it does, like what food's good for what, or and how that feels in your body. And I've always said like, yeah, just give it a go, have a try. If you're obviously when they're with family, when they're out and about, they don't eat the same way, and that's fine. Like I've had to just drop that and let them be whatever, do what they want to do because they're still kids and I can't control everything. So, but in the home, like they love eating my food. Like they love everything I make, um, and they've learnt to make some of it themselves now because they're old enough to make food for themselves. So yeah, they've had a journey of trial and error with me.
yeah.
Because it's been a learning. Yeah, I had to unlearn everything, the way we eat. Yeah, so I started when Naya was probably about 4 years
Wow.
old. I started changing the way we ate
Hmm.
and making, from changing from cheese to nut cheeses, from dairy to nut milk, um, and we've always eaten lots of fruit anyway, so that was never a big one, but just I guess more whole
Hmm.
foods, like changing to whole foods and chickpeas, lentils, just learning to soak those. And yes, it's been fun. Like I'm at a point where now it's just second nature. Like it's not really something I have to think hard about.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
no thought required anymore. It's in you. It's not just on you, it's in you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in you now. So when it comes to fasting, Jaya, you mentioned intermittent fasting. With the fasting realm, how far have you dived deep into it, and what do you feel like it's taught you about your body's resilience when it comes to just letting go of food?
Mm. It's I've that's yeah, very I guess as a female it's been an emotion, well, for anyone, I guess it's for a male as well. It's been an emotion, it can be an emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely.
So at first,
Absolutely.
yeah, at first the longest fast I've done is 35
Whoa.
days.
Oh, hold on, hold on. You said it like it was you said it like you're like, oh, the longest one I've done, like a little 35 dayer. I did a little 35 day, like you said it like
Yeah.
that's incredible. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing, Jaya. Hold on, hold on. I love how you said that. Just like the confidence, just like, yeah, the longest I did, just like 35 days. Like, right. My family would not do a half a day. They would not do one day. You did 35, you
Yeah,
know? That's
gosh.
amazing. So can you please talk to us about this? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was I did it while I was nursing.
Okay.
So I lived on juice for 35 days. Yeah, and that was full-time nursing, and I was working night shifts as well.
Mhm.
So I was doing and I did 12-hour shifts. So I guess
Man,
I would,
12-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, and you're nursing, and you were
yeah,
on juices for
yep.
35 days. What inspired you to go on juices during that time?
I just wanted, because I'd done a few little ones before, and like little ones as in a few days, 10 days, 12 days here and there. And I wanted to do an extended one. And this time it was more for, I guess, it was just a spiritual journey for me because I decided to do it after my mum had passed away.
Mm,
And
okay.
so it was probably a few weeks after she had passed away, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fast because I need, not that I need, I just wanted to go on a spiritual journey with it, and I wanted to have an experience. And um and it was just where I wasn't really feeling food, like I just wasn't interested, and I didn't like, I wanted something where I could just not really, I guess, have any control over, like, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, because I guess for me, it was still, I guess, a process of moving through emotions, and I didn't want food to be the thing.
Right, right.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow. So this was right after that. And
mm.
what do you feel like was the most challenging aspect, if you can talk about, maybe the first couple weeks and then into where you finally eventually discontinued it at the 35-day mark. Throughout that duration, what were some of the challenging things that came up for you?
I like a bit of grief, like there was grief here and there. It was just the challenges for me. It was interesting because working while I was juicing, that didn't really bother
Hmm.
me. Um, and it was more, it was almost like my way of not controlling, but like my way of just grounding and to get to move through. Like, it's like I wanted to feel everything.
Mm.
I wanted to feel it all, but
Okay.
at the same time, like, it was interesting. I was quite not, I wouldn't say I was grounded the whole time, but it was grounding in some ways, if that makes sense. Like, I was going through emotions, but it also kept me level-headed. I was also steady, and just kept moving. Like, I had no choice, kind of, because I had the girls, um and lots of things had happened, and so I needed something where I was like, you know what, I want to cultivate more discipline, and I want to be able to um, stand and stay strong for my kids, because we need to keep going. Like, we can't just, I guess that was in my mind at the time, like, there's no time to just sit around and dwell.
Right,
That was
right.
at the,
I
yeah,
hear you.
yeah, yeah. So,
And it sounds like, Jaya, that you said like it's almost like you didn't want to numb anything. You wanted to feel everything, like to that
mm,
level of sensitivity. I
mm,
definitely remember, the first time I went a month without solids, my first time that went a month on juices, I was very sensitive. It was heightening my level of sensitivity to a point that I never even knew was possible. I didn't even know it was possible to feel everything that I started to feel, not just in my body physically, but also just emotionally, things that started to well up and things that started to bubble to the surface and be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard, to be, looked at, to really be like I'm here, I'm here, I'm still here, you know so looking at those aspects of ourselves, because for the average person, they feel like if they're feeling a little weak, if they're feeling a little lethargic, if they're feeling a little fatigued, or just a little weary, they feel like their source of energy that they will go to will be food. Like, I need to get some food inside me because I need to pick myself up with some energy.
mm,
You're going 35 days with no food, only juices, and
mm.
you're nursing, and you're working 12-hour shifts. So what was your energy level like during that time? I mean, was there a sudden burst or wellspring of energy, or did it vary? What was it like for your energy?
I just I remember just feeling like I I was thinking about the other day, like, I credit this lifestyle to having so much energy, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I did without it. So, like, even just the 12-hour shifts and not having much sleep, I wasn't very good at sleeping after. a night shift. So I would maybe get 3, 4 hours a day of sleep, and and I'd go through a bit of a lull, like a little bit of a dip, and then I'd come back up. And it's kind of on a night shift. That's generally what happens. Like from 4 a.m. For me, it was like midnight would be a bit of a like, oh, I'm gonna drop, but then I come back up, and then 2 a.m. it's kind of like when you're meant to be in a deep sleep, and then 4 a.m. you're meant to be like in a deep sleep still. So the 2 a.m., 4 a.m. times would really get me, but then I would come right up again when I'd finish work at 7 a.m. and I'd have a lot of energy. So it was really quite interesting. And people like nurses would be like, how are you doing that? Like, I bet your blood sugars are going to be really high. I bet, you're going to fade away to nothing. And like, I'd get all these comments. And I'd check my blood sugars, like I'd show them, like my blood sugar was always within range.
Wow.
So the normal range, I think from memory, is between 4 to 8 millimole. I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but it was always within that range.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I would always get these comments, oh, you have to have high blood sugar with all that sugar you're drinking. And it was never, I was like, no, I'm actually good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I, like,
What was,
like,
say say again?
oh, just say no, I'm good. Like I'd have my juices, like I'd prep every night for the next day. Like I'd take 3, 4 liters a day. Sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes I'd only drink maybe 2 liters. It just depended on how I felt. Like every day was a bit different like that with hydration.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. Like, and I'd be around all the junk food and all the different things,
And it wasn't temp
and no.
not at all. Yeah, not at that point. So when you're going, 2 to 4 liters a day, and sometimes you said just 2 liters or even less, and you have all that fear, people are talking in your ear with all of the fear, and they're like, you're gonna wither away and disappear, and you're listening to all of this, but you're like, I'm good. My blood sugar levels are good. My body is good. My energy is good. My mind state is good, my emotions are good, everything's good, everything's checked off that list. What did you feel was your explanation for the naysayers and the doubters? Because that is a common, conception today of people asking, well, if all you're drinking is fruit juice, aren't your sugar levels going to be through the roof? Like, isn't that just like drinking, gallons of soda and all sorts of stuff? People are wondering why you don't, your heart isn't palpitating and why you're not getting diabetes and all sorts of stuff. So what was your explanation?
I wouldn't, yeah, like I would go into a little bit of detail, but a lot of the time they thought I was crazy. So it was like, but they knew me. Like no matter what, I was always going to be me, like do what I wanted to do. And I was I guess the example because I'm not, like my blood sugars are good, like my blood pressure is good. Like we had all the machines to check my vital signs. So it wasn't like I was dipping
Right.
anywhere. Some days I felt dizzy as well. Like I would feel a bit dizzy at sometimes with a low blood pressure, but that was just like I knew it was my adrenals, so I'd take licorice root. Like I was taking some herbs as well to support my adrenal glands and my nervous system. So I I would just like I would say to them, look, like it's amino acids, it's fructose, it's glucose. This is what our body needs. Like we need that. They're the building blocks. But most of the time, like some would be interested, other time, it's okay. Like I was okay with it. It wasn't I never really had to explain myself. Like they would say things, but I just carry on. It's okay. Like
Right. So,
yeah.
I just love that conviction. And I also love that, for what someone might see as a restriction, you still had that inner conviction. That this is helping you, that this is serving you, and that your body is equipped to handle this, and actually that this is, you know, vitalizing your body. You know, it's refreshing your body, it's renewing your body, it's restoring your body, it's rejuvenating, you know.
Mm.
So rehydrating, like in all the levels, in every way. So just for somebody listening who also has that fear, you know, or who also has heard the voices in their ear of, you know, you're going to spike your sugar levels. You're saying the fructose, the glucose, you're saying if it's
Mhm.
coming from fruit juice, it's okay.
Mhm.
It's very different from other things, like other types of sugar. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's different from the soda and all the energy drinks and the Gatorade drinks that everyone drinks. Like
So
the
there's really
processed.
there's no comparison. Like, you know, people will do these videos. I don't know if you've seen it, Jaya, but they'll put, you know, like a can of Coca-Cola and then a glass of fruit juice, and they'll say, oh, this it's the same to your body, that your body doesn't know the difference. But
Mm,
you're saying something different. I love what you're saying because it's saying that nature always provides.
yeah. Yeah, it does. Like it's nature's best medicine. That's and the only way, like for me, doing that in the hospital or wherever I would go, it's I'm the walking
Right.
experience. You know, like I'm the one doing it. So whether someone else has said it or this doctor said it or whoever said it, you actually haven't done it. So you can you can't me like, oh, that's so bad for you if you haven't even done it yourself and felt it in your own body. Like, so I was just like, you know what? It's okay. I'll show you.
This is the message. This is it. I told my family the same thing, Jaya. I was like, you know what? I'm doing it so you don't have to. You know, like I'll be the guinea pig. You know, I'll be the scientist in my own laboratory of my body. Like I'll experiment, I'll test and find out, and then I'll come to you and report my findings.
That's
You know?
it. That's exactly it. And we have to like, you know, and we also have to still like it's okay if our family are doing that. You know, like that's where we
Right.
came from, and we still have to be okay with that as well, and not put them down or not shame them, make them feel guilty, whatever it is. Like, I think like for me now, it's like I'm living it, I'm experiencing it, and that's enough. Like, I don't need to preach, I don't need to start pushing, because there's one stage I was doing that, like many years ago. Like, I would push it on my family, and you know, very much in that. And now I'm just, I, it's okay. Like I still have my family here, but I cook I make food for them, and they eat vegetarian when they're here, and they love it.
Mhm.
It's all good. Like everyone knows that's what Jaya does, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man. Oh man. This is awesome, Jay. I just love, like, just to hear you say that, you know, when you've actually done it, you know, when you have the lived experience, not coming from the intellectual knowledge, not coming from the conceptual knowledge, but coming from experiential knowledge, like your experience, you know,
Mm,
to have the testimony. Your testimony is the most powerful because you felt it in your body. So you have
mm,
evidence, you know, you have evidence, and you're a living proof, living proof. So
yeah,
thank you just for speaking on this, Jaya. Thank you for letting people know what's possible, and just talking about, you know, your trials, your tribulations, and your turning points. Like, this is really inspiring. Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if somebody's watching you for the first time and they really enjoy just listening to your journey and they want to get in touch with you or in tune with you just a little bit further, and they might have their own questions, what would be the best place for them to go to? Did you have a website for any offerings, any services, anything like that for other people who might want to connect?
At the moment, I don't, but it just DM through Instagram. I'm always happy to help. And it's in the making, things that I want to create and put up for the world, and my gifts and sharing and helping others is my number one. So yeah, that's the simple, easy word of mouth at
Yeah.
the moment. Yeah. So thank
The
you.
world is ready. You know, we need it. We need it. And I'm glad that you're here for it, that you have that purpose just to be of
Mm,
service for the collective, you
thank
know? Yeah. Yeah.
you. Yeah. It really is like we have, there's so many, I mean, just even as when I was nursing, there is so many people that need our help, not just in sickness, but just in being there for another
Mhm.
as well. Like being there for people. There's a lot of people that are lonely and also just have there's no care, there's no love in the relationship. Well, it doesn't matter who you are. Like you don't have to be sick to have a chat. So it's I think just being there for another person for me is my number one. And I love that. I love caring for people, and I love listening to their stories, and I love hearing where they've come from and who they are, and it really lights up someone's day when you can just
Mhm.
listen to them. Thank you so much for having me, because I've never shared my story, so it's so nice
Oh man.
to on this platform. I feel very blessed because I've always kept it in, if you know what I mean. Like I've never been the type to share much, not too
Wow.
much. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, thank you.
So this took courage. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, a
A
little
little
bit.
bit?
The monkey mind was going, Jaya, what are you doing? Like, are you ready for this? Like, what's
You you were
so?
born ready. You were born ready.
Thank you.
You were
Thank
born ready.
you.
So, yeah, I'm honored that this was your very first time sharing your story on here. I did not know you're a natural. You know, the way that you talk about your journey, the way that you illustrate your story and your learnings, you're a natural. You know, we need your voice more in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm it is time. It's been I speak privately, but not much in like this. So it's really nice to be inspired and to share it like in this way as well.
Yeah.
It's very uplifting. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Sharing is caring, you know.
That's it.
For those who are daring, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
So blessings, Jaya. Enjoy your day. I know your day is just beginning over there, you know, just getting started, but thank you so much for coming on and just enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy family and
Thank
yes,
you.
love. Love.
Sure. Thank you very much.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Take care.